That's more like it. Good afternoon and welcome to Talkback Live. I'm Bill Hemmer in today for Bobby Batista. On this day back in 1981, President Ronald Reagan left the hospital. At the time, he was nursing a gunshot wound inflicted by John Hinckley Jr., a young man at the time apparently seeking to make a name for himself and impress the actress Jodie Foster. Hinckley today is 44 years old. He has spent nearly half his life in a mental hospital, not guilty by reason of insanity. Hospital officials say he is no longer insane.
And I think that under all circumstances, decided only by a federal judge upon...
If he was found guilty by reason of not guilty, by reason of insanity, how is it that a not guilty person, if we was placed under the stewardship of the mental health authorities, how is it that the mental health authorities don't have the complete say, if he was not guilty by reason of insanity, to be released on unsupervised visits?
There's a mouthful there. Vincent Fuller, do you want to help clarify that, please?
Hinckley's diagnosis. Was he schizophrenic or bipolar?
Schizophrenic.
Schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to see where those psychiatrists say that he's not taking medicine and that he's all right, because once you have schizophrenia or bipolar, you don't get well. Once you're mentally ill with those things, they're very serious. You do not get well.
Beth, quickly.
What happens with those patients is they start to feeling really good when they get out. If he has to go on medications again, which he really needs to do, he's in a closed area now where he's safe and people are watching him all the time. When he leaves, if indeed he's out for a while, if he does not, if he feels real good and says, I don't have any problems now, and what happens with these patients is they stop taking their medication.
Which ultimately is the question about whether or not
they stop taking their medication, and you've got the horror back again. And
Beth,
it's not their fault.
Beth, thanks for calling. I want to bring our viewers back to March of 1981. President Reagan, on the way to the airport, is reported to have said, "Don't worry about me, I guess I forgot to duck." Then later, you may remember, jokingly, he asked if the doctors were Republicans. Time for a quick break. Up next, judge not guilty by reason of insanity. Is John Hinckley a patient or a criminal? We'll think about that and be right back. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to Talkback Live. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Bill Hemmer in today for Bobby Batista. With us now live from Washington, D.C., once again reintroduce the guest. All right, welcome back to Talkback Live. I'm Bill Hemmer in today for Bobby Batista. We hope Bobby is home getting better today. We're talking about John Hinckley Jr. and a recent request from a mental hospital in Washington, D.C. to allow John Hinckley Jr. to have 1 day a week unsupervised visits with his parents. That's the issue today. Danny is in our audience today from California with a quick comment. Go ahead, Danny.
I think since we have so many problems now, people shooting and handling and threatening society again, I mean, I think we have a big problem anyway right now. So to me, in my opinion, it shouldn't be even coming out. Really.
Yeah, these are the questions that a lot of people in Washington will be trying to decide. Vincent Fuller, what do we know about John Hinckley Jr. today?
Would like to see him stay there.
And I think if anyone else, such as a common person in the U.S.,
whether or not he should be allowed into the community.
About mental health and whether or not it does indeed get a fair shake or if there is a bias when it comes to this issue. Quick break here. We're back more of Talkback Live in just a bit.
Join our Talkback Live discussion. Phone us at 800-310-4266. Faxes at 800-310-4FAX. Or go online at cnn.com/talkback.
All right, welcome back to Talkback Live. I'm Bill Hemmer in today for Bobby Batista. Joining us now is Helen Morrison, a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. She is a professor at Loyola University School of Law there in Chicago. Doctor, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
You know the issue, John Hinckley Jr. Is it possible for his case to go into remission and actually improve his...
Primarily because he committed his original crime, and it's going to be a matter of closely observing his mental status changes before and afterwards.
Given cases like these, and I know you have never diagnosed John Hinckley Jr.,
Right.
I would not ask you specifically about his case, but how common or not common is it that people similar to his case are indeed allowed to go back out for either unsupervised visits or in fact just to have their own freedom back?
Well, you're again asking two questions. One, there's the psychiatric question of can a person go out and be expected to follow the rules of the world outside? But what you're talking about is the legal aspect. It's the law that's going to decide. Very much to do with that as physicians.
Yeah. Quickly, let's talk about the law then. Joseph DIGENOVA seems to indicate that judges should indeed decide whether or not a person is fit, like John Hinckley Jr., to go out in public. Should it be judges? Should it be doctors? Should it be 50-50 or something like that?
Well, it's basically the judge. We who makes the decision.
All right, Betty from Ohio has a question now. Betty, go ahead.
Yes, my question is, if the testimony from a psychiatrist is weighed heavily enough to decide whether or not a person is guilty or not, then why shouldn't that testimony be weighed just as heavy on the decision on whether he should be released?
Good question, Doctor.
Well, there really isn't a difference between a civil and criminal proceeding. We're talking about a civil proceeding. It really isn't the word of the psychiatrist as to whether somebody is guilty or not. That's the job of the jury. It's the job of the physician, whether the defense or prosecution, to explain how they thought the person got to the place where they happened to be when they committed the crime. The same thing happens when the person is due for...
And with more normal people?
Michael, thank you. Doctor, go ahead.
Well, there are two issues. One was he...
All right, welcome back to Talkback Live. Just about 17 minutes left here in our program today. I want to reintroduce our guest. First, from Chicago. He's got a ways to go, but he may get there eventually.
That's okay. He's a lot smarter than some of the lawyers I know. I can tell you right now.
Well, he's smiling. He's smiling in Atlanta, so you made his day. Go ahead.
That actually is the question, though, and it's the way he put it is just absolutely brilliant. I mean, if in fact a public policy decision is that he must be monitored by the Secret Service and the FBI while he is out, then I think as a matter, I mean, we've already told ourselves that this is a pretty tough decision to make. You know, it would be one thing if Mr. Hinckley were being released in Colorado to walk around Boulder, but he's being released into the community where the current President of the United States lives. There are risks involved in that, no matter how many people are watching him. And while I understand his family's desires, which all of us can understand, the truth is, if they can visit him at St. Elizabeth's and he can have freedom to visit with them there, it seems to me
Let's take it a little deeper here. I know where you're going on this, but isn't this a case of the mental health experts saying that indeed we have done work with this man and we now have something to show for it?
Oh, it certainly is, and that's when they Jerry Ford. Those people are in prison. And they're never getting out. The problem is Mr. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Thanks for the great question today. Smile, okay? Quick break here. Back with more Talk Back Live in just a bit.
News, CNN.
Bringing you the world for 20 years. This is CNN.
In many of the countries I cover, particularly...
Okay, just a few moments left here. I want to get some final comments, not only from our guests, but also from some folks in the audience. First to Kelvin here from Ohio. Kelvin, go ahead.
Okay. After listening to this segment here, I'm basically hearing a lot of treatment, a lot of security. I'm hearing a lot of attention to this individual who attempted to assassinate the president. What are the cost of it? I mean, to the American taxpayer. I just feel that it's ridiculous. I mean, to some point, just let's execute the guy and move on, which will be a deterrent from anyone else going that route.
I didn't mean to cut you off there. We're just going to shoot it over here to Nate over here and get a quick comment. Thanks, Kelvin.
Well, first of all, the man was found not guilty of committing this crime, so to execute him would be wrong. You can't try him again. That's double jeopardy. As far as the tax money that's going to pay for this, well, I mean, what is the people's motives that are putting it there, that are making these decisions? Are they trying to rehabilitate this man so that he may become a productive member of society again, or are they just trying to babysit him the rest of his life? In that case, then a lot of money is being wasted if they're not going to work to get this man his freedom.
Nate, thanks for the comment. Quickly, Annie from Australia, give us an international perspective quickly.
I think America's a great country, except the bad thing about it is that you have so many, like, your priorities with the gun laws are really bad. Like, you should tighten up the gun laws, and then these people won't get their hands on them in the first place. I mean, if you don't have the weapons, they can't do the harm.
Dr. Morrison, what is important for us to know about this case in the 15 seconds we have left?
In the 15 seconds, we can't predict what this man's going to do in the future. We have to follow the law, but we darn well better be prepared in case he's trouble again.
Dr. Morrison, Joseph DiGenova, Vincent Fuller, appreciate the time and the comments today. Much appreciated. Thank you, and come back.
Thank you.
Also, thanks to our studio audience here in Atlanta. Very good. And Rico. Have a great Tuesday. So long, everybody.